Hey everybody, welcome to Home with the Halsteads. Come on in my kitchen. We're going to make a pear pie. I made a pear pie when I first started my videos, which has been probably 14 months ago. And a friend has just brought me some fresh pears and I thought, well, it'll be fun to make another one. So I'm going to show you how I do it. But let me tell you, these pears, they're not as large as they normally get, but they are delicious. And I think our weather had a lot to do with the pears. I was talking to another friend who has a pear tree, and he said that his pear tree was full of blooms, and the cold came. We had a couple or two or three more freezes, hard freezes, and it just killed the blooms off, and so he didn't have any pears. So I feel real blessed that my other friend had some pears and was willing to share with me. I started out with the 6 pears. Now I have a pan full of pears here, but I've already peeled and cut up the pears so that I can get them on the stove to boil, and I'll show you how I do that. But in this particular pie that I'm making today, I used 6 pears, and I washed them first, and then I peeled them, and then I cut the pear off of the core. You want to make sure that you don't get core, leaf core on your pear. So I wound up, from the 6 pears that I had, I wound up with 3 cups of peeled and diced or cut up pears. So that's what I'm using in the pie that we're going to be making today. I'm using 1 stick of butter, 1 cup of white granulated sugar, 1 cup of self-rising flour, and I sifted and measured that. I'm going to add, just sprinkle in some cinnamon, and then 1 cup of milk. Now a lot of you make this pie and have this recipe. It's everywhere, so I don't claim that it's my original recipe, but I do love it. It's quick and easy, and you know I'm all about quick, easy, and simple. So let's get busy and make this pear pie. But before I come back to you to start putting it together, let me tell you what I'm going to do with the pears. First of all, I'm going to put my pears in this little saucepan that I have here. I'm going to cover them with water. In fact, I'll probably put possibly 1 inch over the pears in water, and I'm going to sprinkle just a little bit of sugar on it, and then I'm going to bring them to a boil and probably boil them for about 10 minutes, and then they'll be ready for us to put our pie together. So I'll see you in a little bit. Okay, we're ready to put our pie together, and we're going to start out by mixing our dry ingredients. I have 1 cup of sugar and 1 cup of flour, and I'm going to just sprinkle in a little cinnamon. I'm going to mix our dry ingredients together. Remember, I tell you that when you're working with cinnamon, you always want to add it to your dry ingredients. Otherwise, it's going to rise to the top of whatever you're making when it hits that liquid. So you want to make sure that you put it in with your dry ingredients. The next thing that we're going to do is to add our milk, and I'm going to whisk that in. We want to mix this until there are no lumps. I've preheated our oven to 350 degrees, and while the oven was preheating, I put a stick of butter, which is 1/2 cup of butter, in a baking dish. I'm using my 8 by 11 baking dish today. I've told you about that I wish I had more of them, but I only have 1. And I melted the butter. So I put the butter in the dish, and I melted the butter while the oven was preheating. So I'm just whisking this together, making sure that there are no lumps. Now, here's our baking dish. You can see I've melted the butter, and now I'm going to pour the pie batter or mixture into the butter. into the baking dish with the butter. I'm going to take my whisk and just kind of swirl this around. Just swirling it around. Okay. Now, let me tell you about our pears. I told you that I started out with 6 pears and they were kind of hard and mine were not real sweet. So after I cut them off, I had 3 cups of pears and I put them in this little saucepan and I added 1.5 cups of water and I added about 1/3 cup of sugar. Now what you want to do is to sweeten to taste. You want to sweeten your pears to taste. And I did cook these 15 minutes rather than 10 minutes. So now I'm just going to spoon the pears into the baking dish on top of the mixture, pie mixture. Trying to evenly distribute the pears in the pie mixture. And I may not use all of this liquid. I can kind of tell, but I am adding some liquid because we don't want our pie to be dry when it comes out of the oven. So I probably added, I'll just put a little bit more juice on top. Okay, and I have that much juice left, so I don't need that. And there's a pear. Okay, now we're ready to go in the oven, and I'm baking at 350 for about 45 minutes. And when it gets done, I'll come back and I'll show it to you. Okay, I wanted to show you our cobbler or pear pie, whichever you want to call it. It's been cooking for 40 minutes and it's done and it's ready to come out of the oven. And I'm not going to have time today for it to cool and let's do a taste test because I've got some errands that I've got to run and it needs to be cool or warm when I dip it and put some delicious ice cream on it. But I'll see you back in just a second. Thank you for joining me in my kitchen today, and I apologize that I didn't have time for the pear cobbler, pear pie to cool and let's sample it because you know I'm dying to get into it, but Doug and I will get into it later and we'll put some ice cream on it and enjoy it. I hope that you have access to some pears and that you'll get to make a pear pie or cobbler real soon. And thank you for joining me. Don't forget to share our recipes and I'll see you again really, really soon. Have a blessed day.